Gotta click the button. Hello, and welcome to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out number 76, He Who Fights with Monsters number 2 by Shirtaloon. And wow, it's quite the book. And for those who are new, welcome. Spoilers ahead. Warning, warning. Yeah, here we go.
Yes. I, those who are new, we typically do audiobooks. But this story is so amazing. I'm tempted to set aside time to actually read it and join Shirtaloon's Patreon because their Patreons get early access to the chapters. And I'm trying to think what the proper terminology is for it, but I think it pretty much releases like a chapter a week on the Patreon early, and then it migrates over to the Royal Road, and yeah, just so much epicness, right?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting concept to kind of really get in on the development.
Yeah, yeah. See it go play by play. Um, yeah, so much fun. We just did the first Geek Out for book one, a couple months ago? And I think they have, let me look it up real quick. Book three, I believe we're going to have to wait a little bit before it comes out on audio, unfortunately. I'll pull those.
Which is still, considering from when book one launched to when three's about to come out, is still pretty good.
Right.
And like I said, spoilers ahead. The ending, just because I like
Oh,
to begin at the end, the ending of book one left me kind of unsatisfied. And he admits, because he popped in for that one, where it was already a hefty book, which it was, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But then the end, they were kind of like in a little bit of turmoil from losing their friend. But the ending of two, if as soon as it ended, I didn't already have Audible recommending book three to me, I would have been a little bit more triggered.
right.
But we're like right in the middle of a fight, and I'm gonna be honest, Rufus isn't gonna die. He's got a lot more to do. I guess we
He
have
better
other
not.
outs because Amir, is it?
Yeah.
Is my audio popping for you guys? Or did I
Uh,
pull my cable?
you sound all right on my end.
Okay, because I'm getting little
Um,
audio pops. I probably did something to my cable. Anyway,
yeah.
because the whole idea was Rufus was supposed to get our gold ranker with our Cloud Palace, um, the stuff from the assassins, and then move on. But yeah, anyway, and we're supposed to be taking Jason with us when he becomes bronze and all that. So I don't think Rufus will die. He might get banged up, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the exact
Thank
words
you.
there. Hey, White Thatch, good to see you, bud. Um, because it was just so well written with Rufus, right? Because Rufus is the definition of what a good adventurer should be. Um, coming from his family's academy and everything, but like when he sees the silver rank on the border of gold rank, who killed his friend. It just the way it read, like you completely understood where he was coming from, because it talks about how like Rufus knows he's not supposed to do all this stuff. Like he knows that it's not smart to go and do all this stuff and charge into battle and throw himself into the line of fire, and take on these risks, um, when they were, fighting running retreat. Um, trying to see. I can't find it. Um,
I'm pretty sure it's like the absolute end.
yeah.
Let me click buttons.
Uh,
Apologies. I'm gonna pretend.
Now, Rufus was no longer going for the kill. With grazing wounds and minor cuts, his twin blades left a swarm of tiny suns and miniature moons behind as his swords flashed with absolute precision. He kept moving, kept slicing, cutting and moving forwards, desperately urging Constance to hold out. Every time he caught a glimpse of
You're
the silver
playing
battle,
that
she
at
was
our
being pressed
speed.
harder and harder. Gradually, a sea of tiny suns
Oh, fine.
and tiny moons orbited amongst the crowd of enemies, construct and cultist alike. The enemy milled, their earlier coordination turning to confusion. Their leadership was caught up battling Constance, too busy to give the earlier direction. The enemy had retreated, leaving only Constance and the elusive dervish of light moving through them like a poltergeist. Constance's voice cried out in a scream as a powerful attack penetrated the magical bubble shielding her. It had been key to withstanding the barrage of attacks she was subjected to, but it was close to collapsing entirely. Rufus knew the time had come to act, and in any case, he had pushed himself to near collapse. His body and mind ached with the depletion of his stamina and mana. Turning finally towards the silver rank battle, he tossed away his conjured swords and threw back the strongest recovery potion he had. He felt the fresh infusion of mana and stamina flush through his body like dipping into cool water. He activated his speed ability one more time. Time seemed to freeze around him. Ahead, the three silver rank abominations and Constance stood motionless before him like a painting of the battle. He did not use his fleeting moment of acceleration to attack. Instead, he stopped and chanted a spell without suffering an attack from the enemies surrounding him. Darkness and light, sun and moon, be mine to awaken and move at my command.
Such an amazing performance.
Or so, yeah, not. Well, yeah, there's more to it, but what I'm saying is the ending was just so beautifully done for the emotional toll, for the psychological toll, for the combat stance and everything. And it was a little abrupt. That's okay because it gets you invested and wanting
Yes,
more.
yes, that's what I mean. Right there, I was like, oh, do I just bite the bullet and pick it up and join the Patreon just so we can get access to it, which is clever marketing. Like, hats off to Shirtaloon. Well done. But if you don't want to go that route, September 7th, 2021 is when book 3 comes out. And I am so grateful that these guys are decently chunked, a good size. Especially for LitRPGs. Like, LitRPGs are
And by
typically around like
decently
10.
chunked, we mean it released Tuesday, and I only got through it 3 times.
Yes.
Granted, life got in the way of some of it, but
Yes. Yeah. I binged it pretty hard. I found myself looking for excuses to do some chores around the house. And when you think about it, when we talked a bit about this with the first book, just the scaling and the progression is so well done. And a lot
well, okay,
happened in book 2.
so on that, it's okay, sidestep. First, our main guy is not an EMT or paramedic, so that's a good thing.
Breaking with the tropes. He is an
Second,
assistant manager at an office supply depot.
Yep. Second, the big thing for me is it reads very much like an epic fantasy because, yes, we dealt with our main characters. Yes, we did a lot with them, but this whole time we're building up for so much more. It starts off book 1 when he comes into the world and he's in the middle of a bunch of cannibals. And so that's a thing. But then he takes out, oh, Vladimir, I think. Anyway, he takes out the guy who's actually the builder cultist, and it's just a little sprinkle there. Builder cultist. Who is this? And that is just like such a small nugget that's been ever expanding upon as of right now, where the builder cultists are the ones we're going up against, who are part of the astral order, or oh, sorry, what is it? It's above God. It's
Yeah. Astral space.
or astral entities. Anyway, I'm sorry
Yeah.
for butchering it, but it's been beautifully done. Where our main guy Jason keeps fighting with the gods until he actually gets all their respect, and where they hurt his aura but help his aura. And yeah,
Yes.
anyway, so
Yes.
it it's reading like an epic fantasy for me, because there's so much more behind the scenes and going on, and we just get little snippets of things. And then even though we feel like, oh, we're a low magic zone and people don't know anything about this and other people are helping and diamond rankers and blah blah blah, as well as like we're getting into the Order of the Assassins. Yeah, foreshadowing is very well done.
Hmm.
And it's just, there's so much potential and build up. I can't wait, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
What was the other point I was gonna make? Oh yeah, so we feel like we're in a low magic zone and we're not the cream of the crop, but
Hmm.
when it comes down to it, like the point that he's always been hinting that he could go back at any time, and it starts in book one when he finds out from knowledge that the token he has can send him back.
Right.
He's interested in it, but he's not going to do it. But then more and more we find out that he wants to go back just to close it. And
Hmm.
then our magic guy, I want to say Klein,
Clyde.
ends up, hinting that the only reason he knows so much about the astral space and the astral beings is because of records of diamond rankers who could travel between. So
Hmm.
we got a ways to go. We're not out of iron, but with that token that can take him back, that can be utilized during a awakening stone. Anyway, so I'm purely speculation, and I would just like to say thank you, Shirtaloon. And it's not reading purely stats and combat oriented like I enjoy, but oh man, I'm really enjoying the building with the builder.
You get a fair share of action in this book.
Yeah, yeah. Yet again, my favorite combat scene from book one is the Mirage one, where he's messing
Mm-hmm.
with them, and then same
Yes.
thing here when we
Yes.
have the three teams going up against each other. The Mirage Chamber is probably my favorite combat scene.
Yeah, you hit a number of good points. I'll try to catch up and make before I lose attention. Really enjoy how the magic and the deity system works. And I can't remember what we talked about in book one, but I'm kind of curious as people like rank up, where that line between mortal and God in that world exist, right? Like, is it possible to keep ascending because like diamond ranks are pretty much immortal, right? Like, stop aging and everything. Their bodies, and we learn about it more in this book as they rank up. Their bodies become more and more of just a magic blob, right? Like their vital organs and everything. Um, Pretty much like slowly shift to where like at the beginning they don't really have to eat anymore. They just survive off spirit coins, right? Which it's magic. And we find out that Jason's body doesn't actually have a heart. It's just his, like muscle memory, quote unquote, or body's memory. That's why he
Yeah,
has a beating
yeah.
heart and he really doesn't need to breathe.
I thoroughly enjoyed the reveal on that. And
When
so I
Clyde was
say it
telling him to go
about
drown himself to break his
other
habit of
books
breathing.
where you take like a serious moment and you just add the levity and the comedic relief into it all at once, and beautifully done, where he's pretty much telling him he's a blob body, and he's like, well, my blob body or my body before wasn't a blob body. Why would I make a blob body? This, that, and the other. And he's telling him, well, you should
Yeah,
really go try and drown yourself. That way you can get past the breathing habit. And
yeah.
he's like, well, what about food? And he's like, I would, I'd get all soggy. I wouldn't do that.
Uh,
Uh,
White Thatch says, I hope if he does go back, he takes something with him to find out where the god of his world is,
um,
or take knowledge with him. So,
so on that one, I thought they discussed Knowledge said his world didn't have enough magic to sustain a god.
but she also can only know
What he knows.
yeah. So
So
it's
there's
kind of
some
that
potential.
gray area. And yeah, I was wondering the same thing too. But his world supposedly doesn't have that magic, or like you said, enough magic. But the God of Knowledge, I thought was the exchange there was pretty interesting. Like how she blindsides him after he gets
Yeah, he gets
dumped
dumped.
by
Yeah.
his girlfriend, and just like setting that up, and how Jason handled it to where he's pretty much like goes through and looks at all of it. He's like, nope, you picked a moment when I would be most vulnerable, easiest to take advantage of, like catch me when I'm down to make impulsive bad decisions. So I'm going to do that and just tell you, bye, smite me. Let me, I'm in the mood. Let me poke a god and see what happens, sort of a
Well,
deal. But
and
clearly you
yeah.
need me for something. So,
And it
uh,
all worked out beautifully, because then even when the other priest went to Rufus and he just backhands him and he's just like, if that's all there was, and just like the
I was
whole.
proud of Rufus for that there, because that was something they were worried about. And, um,
Yeah,
Rufus
but
really
it's
has
because
tunnel
of
vision on
Jason
this
had
moment.
helped him so much.
Yeah, and we get to see that too. Like he realizes that that was nearly the end for them, and we keep coming back to it when everybody's like, how do we understand him? Like explain Jason, like the moment when everybody's there, helping. Is it Sophia? We got a couple Sophias.
I
Sophie, our nubile
Wexler,
slave. Yeah.
yeah, Sophie, yeah.
Our indentured, and like after they're all done and he takes off and they go around and um oh well
So
yeah
she's
at the
trying to pick
beginning.
out her essences.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she's asking, or while they decide on which ones they're doing, he's like, all right, I gotta go do my shopping spree. And then
Mm-hmm.
she's like, so why is he doing this? And Amir gives it off to Rufus, where he says, you've known him the longest. And then he pretty much explains the situation of, I was pretty much dead and about to be sacrificed to a blood cult, but then here's
Yes.
this guy who
Yes.
knew nothing, had nothing. Yeah, and it
Yes.
comes up several times where it's not necessarily in regards to Jason, but same thing when they're recruiting um
Mm-hmm.
the chunky elf. Uh when they're recruiting their healer, he's pretty much like, oh, man, I wish I had pulled it, but the Humphrey Geller quote where Geller's the guy who will jump into hell or whatever just because you're already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As opposed to his previous team. Oh man, we're just so great at
Uh,
names here. Um,
Thadwick, that sound right?
yeah, Thadwick. Um, oh, I want to say Mercer. Um,
Yeah, horrible
yeah,
with names, but
but yeah, he pretty much like told them to hold the line and bail, and um, Neil, the chunky elf, just really enjoyed how Jason handled him, and got him to come around and join their team, which was a nice little addition. Like the team's really rounding out as far as
Oh yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
their main tank with Humphrey, and then their off tank dodge tank with Sophia, and then we have Clyde, our crazy glass cannon, step into my circle where I make everything go boom. And Sophia's friend ends up getting all her stuff at the end. So it'll be really interesting to see how the team there comes together with her
Oh
addition.
man, like so there are a couple of moments in this book where we use our Magic Society guy, Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Clyde.
Anyway, where he uses the swap people ability, during the
Yes.
assassin trial where the guy without a floating power falls off, and then he
Mm-hmm.
swaps them, and then same
Mm-hmm.
thing for defeating the big monster, he swaps them, and then same thing for,
Yeah.
in the Mirage Chamber when, they think they're getting you or they're outmaneuvering you, and Humphrey's just like peace, goes straight up in the air, and then they swap
Yes.
him. So since he doesn't have a slow fall power, and
Mm-hmm.
just like the opportunities for rearranging people, and yeah, I'm excited for our new addition, as well as she gets part of the racial traits of whichever race she swaps into,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that, oh, Humphrey's dragon, I can't think of the name.
Oh, it's not Stripe, but it's
Anyway, Humphrey's dragon can change. Like I think we're only 25% through Iron as far as our main guy goes.
mm-hmm.
But the fact that Stash, I think it's
Yeah.
Mustache, yeah, Stash,
Yeah, Stash, you're right.
will be able to transform. And then with those powers right there, the fact that the new girl can create an enemy double that our guys can see through, as well as play
Yes.
musical chairs and swap people around, as well as become a different race, which could be part of the enemy, and then transporting people, and then Clyde being able to, yeah, biscuits. Yeah, that
Yes.
was another quite comical moment where I was
There
like, "What? What?
there were
What?
so many
Oh,
laugh out loud moments in this book. I really appreciate Shirtaloon's humor. So White Thatch said biscuits, where Stash had pretty much changed himself into Jason and was walking around in the buff, and
I
he said
realize you're
something
not
like,
wearing any pants."
"That's kind of my
Or,
thing."
yeah.
Biscuits, biscuits. And then Jason's always using biscuits to positively reinforce Stash to do things to mess with Hump.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Man, Humphrey really, like, I felt like I
he grew a
didn't
lot.
get to join on the journey of him developing, but at the same time, it was more the situations that happened, which we got to see with other people for the
Hmm.
traumatic events, and Humphrey was actually on the mission. But yeah,
Yes.
he definitely grew a lot, as well as Clyde. There was a lot there that he was instrumental in the moral support and making sure everybody's okay. And
Clyde, yeah. I have to remind myself, Clyde and Jason are older. I think
yeah,
Sophia is older too, around the same age as Jason. So, like, in that sense, it's kind of nice. We've talked about it before, like
ranking
things,
instead of age.
yeah, things passing the sniff test, but Clyde is clearly very mature and is a good bro for Jason. And I think after Farah's death, he's kind of
Yeah.
taken upon himself more to kind of step up and help be there for him. And there were several times where, Sophie was pushing things a little bit further than Jason probably would take it, but he realizes he's in a position of power, so he doesn't do anything to push back. Yet Clyde, that doesn't stop Clyde from pulling her and Belinda off to the side and basically being like, hey, you know, he didn't have to save you, everything. And, you know, Sophie gets all, you know, snobby, like, well, you know, like he what is he, like a hero or something? He's like, yeah, he is your hero. He literally stood up to two of the most powerful people, leader of the local adventurers branch and the magical branch, and said, I'm taking her, she's mine, like you're not going to take advantage. And Clyde's like, I wouldn't even thought of it, like I wouldn't have done that, like you don't realize how good you have it, and all that good stuff there. um yeah, this book for me, it was nice that we really expanded the team dynamic and the elements, and we got to see that fleshed out. I'm very excited for book 3 to see some more real team combat mechanics. I thought we were going to get to see that when we finally did the Reaper challenge. For those of you guys
Whoa.
who forget, book 1, our gold ranker, Amir, kept hinting about this challenge that only Iron Rankers can go and do. And here we are training. We finally got Neil on board. We have all these team mechanics. And then at the start of the challenge, everybody gets split up and mixed up, right?
I was a little sad about that, but I was also thoroughly impressed and enjoyed the new dichotomies and team dynamics. And my favorite ability slash moment of that whole thing was the alchemist jury.
Yeah. Yeah. Jury,
The
Jory.
alchemist and
Hmm.
his ability
I'm
where the
glad
one
we finally
guy
got to see him
shows up
fight.
and saves him and he's like, I'm not leaving that guy. And he's like, well, unless you can take them all on. And he's like, all right, this is a bad idea. I'm just letting you know, but I'm
As
gonna
long as
go
you take care of,
solo these people.
yeah.
And so that was it makes sense.
Let
And
me play with
the
some of my
whole
brews.
balance of his ability of how he has to be knowledgeable about what he's doing, and then by over exceeding or over utilizing them like we see throughout the rest of the book,
Hmm.
there's the penalty of the backlash or recovery period.
Hmm.
That was probably my favorite ability throughout that.
The Reaper challenge also allowed us to meet more characters, right? It allowed us to see kind of our main crew kind of have to figure things out on their own. But we also got to meet, was it Valdis, the prince from a foreign land with the 800-year-old diamond ranker daddy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Clive's like, you know, you remind me of somebody, aka Jason. Um, but yeah, it was everybody was trying to poach their team members. Humphrey had a guy that was like overly pushy about it and everything, to the point where his manners kind of erode away and he starts getting short with them. Same thing with Valdis trying to recruit Clive, and yeah, they got a solid team. It's going to be exciting. I wish we got to see more of our Thundercat, um, Rufus, and who's our lion dude? Um,
Oh, that's gonna bug me.
yeah, Gary,
Gary, yeah.
our boy Gary. We only got to see a little
Well,
bit of him.
Rufus did his part with helping figure out stuff, and he was
Hmm.
tearing stuff apart, as well as it was probably good he didn't do anything because of the emotional stuff. So he
Hmm.
was crucial for smacking the shiznit out of the priest who came
Yes.
And he was
Yes.
also crucial in, taking apart stuff, which then they're like, oh, hey, Jason, yeah, that ability of yours.
Yes.
And so that all worked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as well as he's, the final part for why we need book 3 here right now.
Right. Meow.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
Meow. But yeah.
My thing that I'm concerned for is I so we've got the Order of the Reaper who isn't dead but is dead,
Hmm.
and then we've got the Builder who is planting star seeds and has his own cult. And
Hmm.
then my underlining suspicion is someone, I'm assuming it's the Phoenix, decided to give Jason the coin because if I remember correctly, it had a picture of a phoenix on it, which
Good
in my
catch.
mind I think of Phoenix Down, like Final Fantasy, where you get resurrected, which more or less that's stuff that happens. But so
Yeah.
now we've got 3 of, oh, I forget how many gods with the actual G, astral beings,
The
and
capital G.
they all have severe interest in our boy Jason, where one of them got him to the world he's in, gave him the
Right.
token to go back. The
Right.
other one poached him, is now literally his shadow for things going forward, and gave him his fighting style. And
Right.
then the third one is Frieza, who we've got to supercharge to defeat.
You got
So,
our DBZ reference in.
yeah.
I don't even think we try. It just comes up. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the true motivation behind why all these gods, including knowledge, is like trying to blackmail him into worshiping her, right?
Well, I think a lot of it is like I'm purely speculating, and I'm gonna be honest. It's probably not gonna happen. But what if Jason becomes an astral being? Like he's kind of going toe to toe with the gods, and he's winning. Not yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Making friends and enemies wherever he goes. That's a good point, White Thatch.
yeah,
White
for
Thatch
Phoenix
says,
Down
I think the
type
seal
stuff.
would send Jason back home if he dies.
I don't think that's where we're gonna get to though. I think because with Clyde, it was talking about how the Book of the Astrals is a collection of diamond rankers who have gone to several different astral spaces as well as other planets or universes or however they say it.
Hmm.
Astral beings, that's what they are.
Right. Hmm.
As well as like yeah, yeah.
I really appreciate how Shirtaloon always finishes a chapter on like a high note or a joke or something like that. I definitely could see how yeah, leaves you on a fun point, and then everybody who's subscribing to the Patreon then has to go and wait for the next week. But it makes me feel like um yeah, you just want to keep going and marathon it up. Um, that's yeah, like White Thatch said, he stood against 6 gods and he ends up paying for it, right? Like it scarred his soul. Um, that's the type of stuff that like legends come about. I don't know how far Shirtaloon wants to go with this series, but we're at the very, very early end of Iron, right? And then it ranks all the way up through the metals up until Diamond,
That we
and
know of.
that we know
Because
of.
it could be sidestep, join me on a ride, much like something full murder hobo, where they ascend until they get to the point to where nothing can contain them because they could literally like flex, and due to how ripped they are, they could like send out shockwaves and destroy towns. So
Uh,
they can't be around. So then they go off to their own universe, as well as these diamond rankers are the ones going. So anyway, I could see a lot of things being there for, yeah.
how awesome would it be to eventually get to that point where they're battling with the gods? Because we already have
I
astral beings like the Builder manipulating people and everything. Um,
I don't know about direct confrontation with gods, and it's kind of the whole like niche of it because they end up with so many limitations where like too much power you can't really help without hurting.
yeah, yeah. Um, so he ends up like the after the major fiasco, the
Which one?
Adventurers Guild at the end of book one, the Adventurers
Okay.
Guild then gets put kind of in review, and a lot of people get demoted, including Jason. He goes from 3-star to 1-star, and one of the side effects is getting dumped by Miss Mercer, and um, oh, I forget which direction I was going with this. So they're under review. Everything gets shaken up. Um,
Everybody knows the lead director is
mhm,
or her father, and
right.
then also Knowledge tries to come and give cookies when we tell her this isn't Christmas and you're not Santa Claus.
Sexy Santa
So
Claus.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember where I was going to go with this. How long before you think Sophie and Jason become a thing? Probably not while she's
I
indentured, but
I
there's
see the
definitely
tension.
there's definitely
I
some,
see the potential.
yeah.
I see it being good for Jason because he's normally the one putting people on the back foot, and
He needs somebody to
there's a
push up
lot
against
of
him, right?
opportunity there. I don't think that's the answer though. I have this. I know it was a random moment, and that would be a good match. But for some reason, I see him bow chicka bow bow with like one of the lion people because he has that whole like, am I a furry?
That whole furry
Yeah,
scene
and I
or
know that was
whatnot.
just one versus the many.
Uh,
Sophie and Humphrey. What?
oh, that would be an interesting matchup. Sophie and
Mm,
Humphrey. I could see that. I could see
I could
that.
see it. I'm not really feeling it though.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
Oh man. So yeah, we definitely supercharged and powered up like right towards the end there. It's very interesting the idea of being able to pull out your soul and put it on a tattoo, as well as in my
that
mind, I
was
kind
pretty
of thought of
fun.
them like trinkets for back in my WoW days, where you get a
Right.
trinket that has stats plus it pulls out abilities.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, I definitely get that. Oh, what's the most common one? Romeo and Juliet. There's the thing.
right. Um,
Yeah, I don't think his mom would let it happen though.
I enjoy how she doesn't even pretend sometimes, like when she's talking to Clive about
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I
Uh,
definitely want a magical tattoo as well.
yes, Pete's been thinking ideas about a sleeve. So if anybody's has some good tattoo
Well, part of my
suggestions,
problem is I want to get a lot of like book stuff, and a lot of the book stuff, it's words, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I need something with a hefty page count, as well as one of them that I
uh,
want to get. If
would
I explain it, I will spoil the book.
Would
because it's
that
like the pinnacle of the book, and I can't say it here because, yeah,
would that mean that if you have a sleeve tattoo of multiple books, that your tattoo would be over 9,000 words?
yes, yep.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah. Yeah. So much in this book, and that, like, again, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this series. Some of our other favorite series, so much happens, or like it's a large book, but not much happens, right? Like there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of doing, but perhaps
Well,
it's because of the nature of how this is written and released. Like almost every chapter we have something that like really happens, moves the story along. Whether it be Sophie getting, you know, all her stuff together, or like the several with the Reaper challenge, and yeah, the barbecue, the weaponize the barbecue for Neil, and everything else that happens there.
so yeah, looking at it, I thought the climbing mountains thing was kind of funny in a sad way. For didn't you used to have someone who liked to climb mountains? How did he die? He fell off a mountain. Depression
Yes,
collar thing.
yes, that was the opening chapter. That was pretty good.
Yep.
Really set the stage.
Nothing can
Um,
hurt you like hope. Which that's where there were a lot of good quotes, and I'm sorry, I'm slacking, but the whole like
no,
nothing
but
can hurt you like hope is a
when she
matter of
was,
perspective, and then Jason just like drives it home later when he has, oh, what is it? It's the whole like nothing. It's when he's recruiting the elf, and he's essentially like nothing is impossible. It's all matter of perspective, and you're the only one. Yeah.
just have to try harder at it, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Or his, well, what are you going to do about it after he tells Knowledge to go away, and that
Hmm.
Rufus is going to be told, he's like, what are you going to do about it? The best I can with what I have. So they're
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah. Yeah. So many good quotes, so many fun scenes, play on words. I really like how, as much as like Jason's the one throwing everyone off balance and doing his thing, how his team finally gets used to him and how to manage him, where he starts saying crazy stuff, and like when Neil comes on, they're like, oh yeah, we just chalk that off to Jason being Jason, or when he stops making sense, just tune him out because it probably doesn't matter or whatever. He's like, oh, that's hurtful. Oh, my feelings. Um,
Yes. All right. Fine. You click it.
yes,
Yes, when
White
Jason
Thatch.
grabs the scythe, move back to store it in the inventory was pretty creative. That's one thing that separates this book for me and why I want it to become some epic, world spanning, universe shaking novel is because traditionally everybody kind of gets the same stats, and traditionally everybody has an inventory. Now, that is, relevant to Jason because being an outworlder and ways that he can help survive in the world he is. And we've seen several different creative applications with Farah and her giant chest, which she has a banquet table and such, as well as Klein with his runic ability and things that apply. But then
Hmm.
there's also the mundane for the people who don't develop an ability and can get spatial bags. And I also really love that it's essentially a slot of 20. You get like your core from your initial stones, and that's what you can spec into. But
Hmm.
then RNG, I guess that's most game like mechanic you can have because, RNGesus is real. Um,
Random number generator for those non gamers. But continue.
and then yeah, there are just so many elements that are game like, but at the same time, it's not. And yeah, it's very well
Well,
done.
Yeah, and that's where this book's a little bit different. We've talked about it before with the LitRPG genre. The reason why he views things that way is because, like, it's part of his outworlder abilities to quantify um, what all happens around him into gaming terms, which I think in a lot of ways is just ingenious for people like us, because it's always a challenge to um, get people through the world building process, right? So with lit RPGs, it's something a little bit more relatable where we have kind of like the context being gamers. So for us to kind of transition into the world of He Who Fights with Monsters, to have the gamer mechanics and abilities that he has just kind of helps us bridge that gap between the worlds. Um,
Yeah, I would have to say when he has to loot his friend in order to get all the stuff back for the rest of the party, that definitely was one of the sadder moments.
yeah,
But with that, with thinking of spatial storage, the I can make you walk a plank. Hey, does anybody have a plank moment? Is
yes,
quite beautifully comical.
yes. He has a lot of those good moments. Um, Very fun book. A lot of laugh out loud moments. Um, I was just thinking of another one, and now I lost it. Um, yeah, the play on words when they were going to do oh the ritual for Sophie when they got back to town, and just like all the innuendos back and
Oh,
forth
yep,
and
yep.
everything. Well, it's not my first time. Yeah, I don't know. Clyde's like, yeah, I'm pretty quick at it, just like back and forth, back and forth. Um, yeah, good, good stuff. Oh, I remember another one of my favorite moments. So we finally get to see Rufus's parents. We get to meet them when Farah's
The
parents come
pamphlet,
back.
a whole ordeal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So Rufus's father creates a big scene and jumps to shore before the boat even docks, and uses his wind abilities to keep everyone from listening in and everything, and they have a moment. And so Rufus goes and talks to Jason like, hey, go all Jason on him, like when we come up and meet him. And like
He's like, "What do I do to people?" And then
yeah,
Clive's like, "Oh, accusing me of sleeping with your wife that I don't have, or that you don't have, and accusing you of sleeping with her too." And
yes,
it
yes,
comes up several other times,
yes,
and
yes,
there's a lot of comic relief there, where he's like, "Oh, you don't have a girlfriend," and he's like, "Wow, way to rub it in," or whatnot. Anyway, but then he goes full Jason with his whole like pottery bit and actually bringing out the
yes.
pamphlets and really digging
Re-
into them.
Reading through all the other pamphlets and everything that are just like all off the world. And he's like, "What? I told you about my slave workshop," and blah blah blah, and just like takes off and everything. Um, yeah, yes, yes.
But it
We all could
also
learn a bit from Jason and just how to manage people.
the point, like I enjoyed that scene very much as well, but then what came of it was how he can hide his feelings and his aura, because he's like, I'm a gold ranker. Mer, 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 mer. You shouldn't be
Yes,
able to lie to me. And he's like, oh, there's only one other person who has been able to do that. And yeah.
yeah, that
And he
was.
talks about it's all, essentially becoming who you're portraying.
Hmm.
I forget the verbiage he uses, but yeah.
Yeah, Jason really embodies the second chance, though, and we talk about like life lessons and everything that we can take away. And for all the fun, laugh out loud moments and the jokes and the stuff that hits um, pretty close to home. There's some real serious moments where he talks about how it shouldn't have taken him getting transported to another world to really own his life and make the changes he want to make. Which good reminder for all of us, right? Every day is a new day. You don't have to be teleported to another world and turned into a magical monster with no heart and lungs to really just
Your blob body.
yes. Even you can become an Iron Ranker.
So I'm not 100% on what we're talking about here.
White Thatch said, "What did you think about Amir's story about Rufus's father's not being wanted?" About Rufus's father not being wanted. Yeah, can you expand on that a little bit, White
So
Thatch?
if I understand what you're trying to say, Rufus, like the little bit of banter that happened with them, it was pretty much like,
Oh,
oh, if you're here for moral support, why didn't you bring mom? And then he's like, I did. And it's like, oh, well, okay. And then so I'm
I
not
don't
100%
think
what
that
happened
is what he
there.
was talking about,
Well,
and
no, but that
hopefully,
was kind of the lead in because he's talking about um the other gold ranker.
I think it was when they were talking about how they all used to work together, Amir
Oh
and
yeah, they
Rufus's
were in a
parents
group.
is,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how
yeah.
those two went off to make babies. And I really enjoy Amir and Constant kind of have this love, not love thing going on where um, Amir is trashing them for going off and making babies, and Rufus is like, I was one of those babies. And then Constant's like,
But
oh,
yeah, how long did it
I
take
want
before you could
babies.
carry on a conversation?
Yes, of any worth, and talk about how they're a bad return on investment or whatever.
Yeah.
And Constance all like, I want to have kids, and he's like, oh, changing his tune there. Hopefully they end up getting together eventually. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
yeah. Um, yeah, a lot of really good moments in this book. Worth.
So one thing I'm excited, but it's awfully conflicting. So Shade, who is a shade or a
Mm-hmm.
shadow,
Mm-hmm.
that's like that man. That could be a great boon due to the knowledge, and we've already utilized a lot of that knowledge because he knew who stayed behind and who was
Yes.
part of the builder cultists, so that we
Yes.
got the information to the higher ups, and that can expand and go other places. But you can't get rid of your shadow, or can you? Or other stuff and things. Or I guess we could kill him and then resummon him later. But anyway, like
They
who?
talked a bit about that. Like he was originally the familiar for the Reaper group. So I'm curious what other information he can share.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Plus, he said he's one of many, and the guy has many shadows, and he's not as strong as he was for the trials.
mm-hmm,
And like,
mm-hmm,
yeah, there we got that guy, and then we got the Cosmo looking familiar towards the end there.
mm-hmm. I enjoy.
Hey, something of doom. Do you want a sausage? I don't think he's really
Uh,
big into sausage. Yeah.
uh, yeah. Um, White Thatch, who caught the Superman the movie reference when Jason and the guy at the waterfall get shot out? I didn't catch that. Um,
Or superhero landing.
there's probably a couple superhero landings. Yeah.
Is that's book one though, right?
Mm, when he goes up to the waterfall with the astral space or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good references.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. When he's holding his hand as they are slow falling. Oh, okay.
Don't
Being
let
all
go or don't look down, and he instantly does it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, like everything is just so scaled up. I'm super pumped for book 3. Um yeah. Yeah. And we're still in quote unquote like one of the weaker areas magic wise,
Well,
right?
and that's where from 1 to 2, I expected us to mourn the dead and hit bronze and go off with Rufus and Amir and find bigger and better things to be doing.
Yeah.
But we can't really because we're like deeply invested. It still sounds like that's a thing that could happen and we could go and do.
Mm-hmm.
But with Clyde being part of the Magic Society and Sophie and the indenturement and probably not being able to travel for the 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and we're only technically 25% through Iron at the end of book 2 when we need to wait until we're bronze before all of that extra stuff happens and we can go on.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a lot happening, but we also, he's invested in all the townies and wants to protect his home, and I don't really see him going anywhere,
Yeah.
but at the same time, kind of want to see him go somewhere. We ended up bringing part of the other world to us with those other Iron Rankers, um,
And
and
some of them are hanging out around there too.
yeah,
And
yeah, and training, and that's why with the threat of the builders, with us having the only reason I would see us going is we hit bronze, which I doubt is going to happen third book, or Clyde becomes invaluable in deciphering the astral space and the builders. But I have a feeling, yeah, there's going to be something with the shadow guy who's
mhm.
going to reveal something, which is going to click. And yeah,
I thought we were going to be getting closer to the monster surge, which is already past due at this point.
that's
Um,
true. So we're not really supposed to be moving.
yeah, but with the builder occultist and all that going on, um, kind of makes me think like what other chaotic moments are we going to have with the monster surge as well, having them in the mix there and all their power and capabilities, because we got to see just kind of their seeds and stuff they have going on. Yeah, and those are around like silver rank, which a lot of our big
Or
players are around
there's a lot
silver.
of potential for different ones because they talked
Mhm.
about the builder cultist that we kill in book 1 was supposed to be summoning a clockwork something or other
Clockwork
that
King.
Clockwork King, who is
Yeah.
supposed to be what makes the star seeds, which there has to be one here already to make the star seeds and other things happen. And yeah, it's hello, running aces. Just finished the book myself. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, feel free to join in and let us know what you think of it. Yeah, had so much fun um, re-listening to this book, and yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
So I'm curious because I can't remember which astral entity it is, but one of them, because the Reaper, utilizes the astral energy of the dead people,
mhm,
and then the Phoenix is all about preserving and keeping the world alive and whatever,
mhm,
whatever. And there are several different ones, but I'm pretty sure that's what the Monster Surge is because monsters are made of ambient magic
mhm.
gaining sentience and core or coming together and whatnot, much
Hmm.
like we do for the essences, but just on a grander scale. So I'm pretty sure the astral entities are like, and here's the flood, or, here's the plague, or good luck, have fun, don't die trying.
Uh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Um, Speaking of Humphrey's awesome ability he gets there at the end, like immortality or something like that.
Oh,
We're going to have
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
pretty clutch last last man standing moments or
That,
holding the line. Go ahead.
yep. So, our you'll appreciate this. Jackson from Ritualist
Okay.
is essentially a chiropractor that turns monk-esque
Hmm.
that utilizes fist weapons.
Yes.
Sophie is a eye mobility fist person who gets an ability that is meditation. Jackson from the other series gets battle meditation, which essentially is as he's in the zone, he gets his, meditation properties versus while he's sitting still and meditating. That I feel like could be a interesting adaptation,
Hmm.
but at the same time might be a little overpowered since it literally recovers everything and we have a healer, a way to get rid of debuffs and so on and so forth. But
Oh,
yeah.
they're stacked at the end of the book. Like
Oh
all their
yeah. Oh
new
yeah.
awesome abilities,
Their
all their
Mirage Chamber
familiars.
thing, how
Yeah.
they bait them out with their familiars, and then they have like Humphrey goes up in the air, they swap them. They're uh, they literally sit there in the dot or the damage over time where they've got the poison cloud and they got all of
Yes.
this, and they're
Yes.
just like, all right, heal over time, boost your resistance, reflect damage, and they're just like, ah ha ha ha, getting poked with
Yes.
all these thorns. Yeah, oh man. So yes. Yep.
So, yes. In all its epic goodness. All its epic goodness. Gosh, yeah. Book 3 cannot hit here soon enough. September 7th is when it's dropping. Um, this is our first series that we've listened to Heath Miller, the narrator, does a phenomenal job for this series. You disagree? You're making faces.
I enjoyed him. He has a lot of like really good grand moments.
Mm-hmm.
This book has a lot of like one-off characters that get introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of them felt similar, but that's I could still follow along and tell. And yeah,
Yeah. Running aces, I thought Jason finally putting his foot down with Sophie was very much needed. I agree. She kept and rightfully so, like she had a hard life, so she's skeptical of his motivations and everything. But finally, towards the end there, when he just loses it and he's like, hey, like you're free to go. I'm tired of constantly having to justify myself to you. All I hear is, one of my teammates threatening to leave. Like, if you're going to leave, like
save us
GTFO.
time. Yeah, we
Yeah,
need to find a
Kate,
replacement.
Kate
But
thinks bye.
it's one of those where it really builds and develops throughout the whole book because that's like the big end point of book one, and then it's her, getting her abilities and she gets a little insight there. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
Clyde giving her a talking to. And then it's, Jason saving her from saving him from almost getting squished and, telling her to rely on him for the powers and him putting his foot down. And yeah, there's a lot of, development that goes into it.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So, as always, it's hard to get everything of all these awesome books in an hour, give or take. We're getting close on time. Um, what were some other big key moments that you felt were crucial in this book that we haven't touched base on? Like a lot happens, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
we have the memorial
For
for
Mourning the
Pharaoh.
Dead.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We finally got the Reaper challenge that Amir had been hinting at for a while. I'm really curious to see where that story arc goes because a couple of them
Uh,
got recruited
there
into the
there are
Reaper.
so many different directions that's gonna go because we know the Reaper assassins aren't dead. We know the builder is essentially has a free win in getting that astral space with all the goodies of a long dead epic society of, assassins has to go with it. We look through it, but
Hmm.
in the middle of heated battles, so the builder is going to be getting a free pass on that.
Hmm.
And I could easily see a lot of those things. And
Hmm.
that's where I see this going. I see Jason being crucial for the League of Assassins and Shade being crucial in getting the information to him, the Builder Cultist getting the astral space, which then is going to lead to them getting some like insight knowledge, and
Hmm.
then the current assassins who are hidden but not hidden getting affected. Jason going in, saving their bacon. Yeah, so a lot could happen with that.
Yeah. Um, Running Aces asked, did you guys think that the climax of the book came was too soon, and then it was just a few hours of nothing but power up info?
So the I like the size of the book and that there was so much going on. I very much kind of got the same feel initially when we got to the end of the Reaper trials, and that was like kind of climactic and it could have closed. But I think it did really well tying it back in and progressing, and it
And they all got those evolutions at the
yeah,
end,
they
right?
there was still a lot more to be had. Um, I think it was very climactic, but yeah, he's breaking the mold and living more in the epic fantasy space where a lot of epic stuff can happen throughout it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
yeah,
Curious to see where the Reaper storyline goes and when those guys come out of the woodwork and ask for their favors. Um, we already talked about um, their section of the Adventurers Guild getting audited and all the change up there. The team forming, finally getting the indentures contract for Sophia and Belinda. Um, didn't see much of Belinda's and Jory's relationship, anything developing there, because Jory was a big
yeah,
part of
he's
book
always
one.
busy. That was more of the subtle things for why we wanted our healer, and he was definitely by far my favorite ability for
Mm-hmm.
the Reaper trials.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and then with the healer people not being obnoxious like always,
Mm-hmm.
which we got to see as we were out adventuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. And then what other big moments happened in book two that I missed?
I gotta say there was a lot.
There were a lot. Absolutely. Um, So, running aces, do you think Amir might end up being the grandfather of a new master assassin? He gave his granddaughter the books and now has access to the scythe. That's a very good
I
point slash angle. Like,
I don't know about all that because like he definitely has everything going for him where he is a treasure hunter, so he could
hmm
easily gather and assemble and stay mysterious. as well as with his daughter coming up with a fighting style. But granddaughter,
Yeah.
when Jason was talking to Shade, and he pretty much got it out of him that they're no longer a league of assassins. It's more putting puzzle pieces together and finding the correct people who would take interest and play on their side.
Right.
But I guess he's probably the most knowledgeable outside of the Iron Rankers who can't do much about it.
And then we had Thadwick that ended up going with the Builder Cultists and pretty much like betraying his family as they had all those raids going on. Pretty interesting stuff there. And then
I
his
feel like he's
lackeys
got a
that had
redemption story in his back pocket for him. Like, no one really cared for him. He was kind of a schmuck from the get-go. But the fact that he had that whole, like, oh no, what have I done? Oh, my father, we can save my father moment. And the fact that the guy's like, I can't just kill him off and I can't do all these other things. I have a feeling he's going to have some crucial redemption story lined up, especially since we killed off our other guy we love to hate.
Yeah. Let's see. Just so much happens in this book. I think we hit a lot of the main story arcs.
Bad guy doesn't even want him.
Yeah.
That's he was just childish.
He is, but a good contrast, right, between Thadwick and Humphrey, both privileged nobles, and how they could turn out, right? Yeah. Really interested to see the Builder Cultist plot thicken. And I'm ready for this monster surge now that we have our epic team and all these people here in Greenstone. Like, let's go. Let's have some epic combat with our sarcastic Jason Asano and his witty banter when he's not busy flirting with princesses and
telling off gods and
doing his pamphlets, become a pamphlet mogul. So much good stuff. If you guys haven't read this series, highly recommend you go check it out. Definitely going to be geeking out about this book 3 in September. As always, if anybody wants to get up here and hop on mic or show your lovely faces, we always enjoy having other people geeking out with us. Glad to see a lot of friendly faces in chat today and some new friends. Thanks for hanging out with us. Pete, what we got going on next week?
Next week we have Steelheart, which I know nothing about other than Brandon freaking Sanderson.
Yes.
Take it away.
Yes. So I have been telling Pete to read this book forever. We're breaking away from LitRPG for a week. Definitely going to get back to our LitRPG grind because we just have too many books in the queue. But we are Brandon Sanderson fans. Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but Peter credits him getting back into
reading books.
Yeah. For Mistborn. And I think Steelheart is probably as close to LitRPG as Brandon Sanderson gets because it's pretty much superheroes. And I remember watching an interview where he was pretty much driving in his car one day and he was like, what would happen if all of a sudden the world had superheroes, but all the superheroes were actually super villains. So Steelheart, you could probably catch the reference there. But we follow this young boy as he navigates this world, and it is young adult. It's a quick read. Running
I
Aces said he
thoroughly.
read
Oh,
it years ago and says we'll love it. I'm looking forward to going back to it and rereading it. Really excited to get Pete's take on this next week.
I
And
enjoy the other young adult from Brandon Sanderson. Oh, Star Sight, right? The
yes,
one with
yes,
the boy and his dragon. Just kidding, girl and her spaceship.
yeah. Um, yeah, a
So I guess
lot, a
that
lot of
had a lot
fun.
of like extra angst to
Hmm.
it.
And this was earlier in his career. I want to say Steelheart was one of his first YA breaks into YA, but it's a lot of fun. 5 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Sunday next week, doing Steelheart, getting some Brandon Sanderson love. I don't think we've done any Brandon Sanderson in 2021, have we?
We went on quite the binge
We did.
where we did all of Mistborn. We got current with
All of Era 1 Mistborn.
or sorry, Era 1 Mistborn, and
Yes.
then, oh wow, Magic Pixie Sword Flying, help me,
Wait, what?
words.
Radiance, Nice Radiance.
What's the book series though? Stormlight
Stormlight.
Archive. There we
Yeah.
go. Oh man. So
That
no, it's not
description,
been
dude.
2021. Yeah, had to get
Yeah.
there.
Gotta get our boy Brandon Sanderson back into the rotation.
We got a couple that we need to add.
We've been
Anyway,
flirting with the idea of occasionally adding a second stream into the mix. So if you guys have any requests on days and times, hit us up on social,
I was
also
gonna
on
say we need to
Discord.
get a Discord poll going where
We
people
need,
can do icons for which day they want.
yeah, there's just too many good books that we want to get to and series we want to do. White Thatch has been on us to work in the other Divine Dungeon series that
Yes.
we're super excited to do, and hope we can get him in on it to join the chat, because we kept making the connections between the series, and I guess that series really spells a lot out. There's still all of Era 2 of Brandon Sanderson we want to do with
Uh,
Mistborn. There's just so many good series. We stopped on Dune, coming up on my favorite book for Dune. Got Emperor of Dune, need to get that one back into our rotation. So 52 books a year talking about it is not enough. So we're going to do what we can to make more of those happen.
and if you think it's impossible, I'm gonna make a video about audio anywhere. I
Yes.
sleep in a headband that has it's essentially a headphone headband, and then I get up and I get in the shower and I have a shower speaker, and then I get up and I put in, my earplugs. Yeah, and then I get in my car and I Bluetooth to my car. Yeah, audio everywhere. Audiobooks for the win. Was late. Found you guys when recap the first one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Running Aces. Good to see you, Carlos. White Thatch. Shout out to everybody. We really appreciate the dialogue. Pete and I could talk all day about these books, but that's part of the reason why
Or
we
we pretty
started
much
this
do,
project.
but
We pretty much do. Yes. Um, yes. love having so many awesome friends in this little corner of the internet. Carlos said
Audio everywhere, Kindle in bed. I'm just now getting into the Kindle space.
you're
I'm
doing it right,
not.
Carlos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
some of the narrators really just drive it home.
Yeah.
Where the voices in my head are all the same. I have a hard enough time with names, let alone assigning the name to it.
The
Yeah.
voices in your head all sound the same. Mine are different.
I guess that's a lie.
And then I hear you making the
but
sound effects.
yeah, yes, I have an internal sound effect meter and voices, but they sound like the influence of them.
That's why you're now the sound guy. That everybody
except for
comes to.
not this week. Or yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, it's been fun, guys. Final thoughts, Pete? Miss
Final
anything?
thoughts. Steelheart next week. Same time. Enjoy the book. More to come. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to geeking out with you guys again here next week.
Bye.
Bye.